to this very special edition of NPS Ki Pathshala on the Money Show today, and I'm at Tata Pension Fund with the Tata Pension Fund CEO Kurian Jose. Kurian, welcome to the Money Show. And I know it's the tax saving season, and everyone is just preferring NPS, and we've seen a trend building up as far as NPS as a tax saving instrument is concerned. But then in today's conversation, we are not just going to talk about the tax aspect of NPS, but how can we align this pension product in your portfolio for your financial goals, because that's exactly the way we want our investors to look at it. You know, you get an advantage of savings your tax in ATC and ATCCD, but then also retirement being a very crucial goal. It's good that you have a well diversified portfolio for a goal like retirement as well. But then before that, I want to know quick changes that we've seen which were introduced lately last month, I guess.
So yeah, thanks Kavita for having us. I just wanted to kind of come on one aspect, saying that we keep saying that NPS is a tax saving season. I think it's an all season product, if you ask me, and it should rightly be an all season product. It just so happens that human tendency, human behavior, that you tend to kind of keep everything for the last moment. So with the JFM, Jan Feb March becomes the last moment, so it becomes a tax saving season. But I think we believe very strictly, very staunchly that it's an all season product. Right. Coming to the changes, I think quite a few interesting changes have been brought in by PFRDA to make it a little bit more simpler, because I think finance as a subject, it gets a little difficult, and most people get put off as soon as you talk about finance. Yeah. So I think what the changes PFRDA has done is that they want people to come in young. Because by the time people start coming into investment, coming to retirement, they're too late. I mean, initially you have issues of you want to build a house, you have EMIs, you have rentals, and then everybody keeps saying like at 25, it's too old. I mean, it's too early for me to kind of think of retirement. Yeah. So I think what PFRDA is trying to do is make it young, talk to the young people. I think quite a bit of work has been done in the digital space. Mm-hmm. They have introduced something called investing through a QR code. And that's because most consumers today are used to kind of just opening a smartphone, scanning a QR code and just getting invested. Right. So obviously if you have a demat account and a QR code, it helps. That's as simple as that. I think the systematic withdrawal plan, systematic lump sum withdrawal, which is called the SLW, has been a great introduction that's come in. Earlier what used to happen is you used to invest till you are 60. At 60, you could take a lump sum out tax-free again, and 40% you have to buy an annuity. Now what it allows you to do is you can stay invested till you are 75. Okay. So you can start investing till 18. You can invest from 18 to 70, but you can stay invested till 75. So there is no compulsion for you to take the money out at 60. You can let the money grow, and money grows pretty well, compounds pretty well. Looking at a last 10-year returns kind of thing, equity has given about 15 to 17%. GSEC has given about 11%, corporate bond has given about 9%. So you allow your money to stay invested, and the power of compounding is the eighth miracle, eighth wonder of the world. So you allow the money to stay, withdraw the money as per your requirement. You can withdraw it quarterly, half yearly, or yearly. And
after 60?
After 60, yes. So till 60 the money stays locked in. At 60, after 60 you can stay keep 60% of the money corpus, let it grow. 40% you necessarily have to buy an annuity.
Okay. Something on partial withdrawals also?
Yeah, partial withdrawal, what's happening is you can withdraw till you're 60, but only up to 25% of your corpus. So any money that you have put in on yourself. So like, so there are three ways of investing. So one is the all citizen model, where you and I can invest, which you get the ATC benefit. Then you have that 50,000 rupees, which you get ATCCD 1B. That's again your contribution. Yeah. But there is something which the advantage from income tax you get, which is the ATCCD 2, which is the corporate deduction, the corporate NPS, which is very popular. There what happens is the company kind of deducts or invests on your behalf. Obviously the CTC doesn't change, but that is seen as the employer contribution. So that as an aspect you cannot withdraw. So you can withdraw up to 25% of your contribution in case you need a requirement of, like, it could be a child's education, it could be a house, it could be a new venture. So there are some criteria that needs to be followed when you can take that money out.
Okay. And how many times can you do it?
You can do it thrice during the period of
your investment duration, entire investment duration, and every time it has to be 25%.
25% of your corpus.
Of your corpus.
So this does not include appreciation. This does not include your employer contribution.
Okay. Okay. This begins after the third year of investment,
yes,
right? You
That's
can't just do it immediately.
You cannot do it. So money has to stay. See, because you're getting advantage of tax when you invest, right? So this is an EEE product. So you get tax exemption when you invest, tax exemption while you are there, and when you withdraw the money, 60% of the money is tax free for you. And even when you buy the annuity, there's no GST, there is no tax payable for that. So only when the money that comes in, the pension money that comes from the annuity, that is the only one that you have to pay tax. But that's the tax regime you are at that time. So you could be 60, 70, you may have no other income, and this is the only income, so your tax bracket would be that much lesser.
Okay. And you get the tax benefit only if you are an old tax regime taxpayer?
So there are two ways to look at. In the old regime, you get all the benefits of ATC, ATC CD 1B and ATC CD 2. But in the new regime, you don't get the first two. You get the benefit of ATC CD 2, which is the corporate deduction. So if you are doing corporate deduction, you get benefit in the new tax regime as well. So a lot of people think that it doesn't make sense to do NPS if you're in the new tax regime. A lot of people switch. People in the 7 to 10 lakh bracket, they say like I don't need these exemptions. I want to kind of have more cash in hand. But this is a way that you can use ATC CD2 benefit from income tax for the new tax regime as well.
Okay. Could you also give us a bird's eye view on the entire inflow in terms of schemes? That's the numbers that we are talking about.
So I think from investment, if you look at, so there are two aspects of NPS. NPS was originally created for the government sector, because earlier used to have, when they started in 2004, the government at that time realized that it was called a defined benefit plan. Defined benefit means once you retire, for the rest of your life, you would get 50% of that money till you kind of expire or pass on. Now, that means that you're creating a big liability, because people, if you look at longevity, males, look, as per studies, males live up to 77, 78, women live up to about 80 years. So you're talking about almost 20 to 30 years, people live up to 100. So you're talking about 30 to 40 years of money that had to be footed by the government. So that would only be possible if you borrow, and that's increasing the government liability. So defined benefit was changed to defined contribution, where you would contribute the money, you would contribute along with the government would contribute on your behalf, and that, as whatever you grow, and that amount can potentially be higher than the 50% as well. It is just that from 2004 you have not reached a stage where these people are retired yet. So this is a wonderful scheme. It is just that people don't really know about it so much. So 85% of the corpus of NPS is with the government sector, and 15% of the corpus is with the private sector, where you have about 10 fund managers in space. So from a growth perspective, I think if you look at the space from an AUM perspective, there's been almost 30% growth in the industry. From the corporate sector itself, the growth has been about 35%. The all citizen model, the growth has been about 24%, and that growth has significantly come in Jan, Feb, March, because of what you rightly said, the tax season.
Saving.
So if you look at the flow, I think a large portion of the flow comes into equity. Almost 40%, 35% comes into equity, about 40% comes into the GSEC category. Because you are also entering into a stage where you're expecting rates to come off. So you benefit maximum from the GSEC. The corporate bond has been about 20-25%. So that has been the flow, the rate of flow that has come.
Talking about the fund managers, I think there was a change over there also.
Yes. So what also was allowed is so there are two aspects again. So you can change a fund manager once a year. Without any tax incidence. So you can change asset classes 4 times a year and fund managers once a year. What was introduced recently is that you can now have 3 fund managers at any particular point of time. So there are 4 asset classes, because equity, corporate bond, GSEC and alternate assets. So between these 4, you can now select 1 fund manager for equity, 1 fund manager for corporate bond, 1 fund manager for GSEC, and the 4th one you have to select for the alternate. You have to select one of these. So that's also a recent addition, because I think what PFRD may have looked at is, in the mutual fund space, which comes closest, you have multiple fund managers managing multiple asset classes. So here I think they have given that choice to subscribers, that you may like to invest with Tata pension fund for equity, maybe some other pension fund for GSEC, and a third fund manager for GILT. So that's a new introduction that has come up recently. Maybe it's not as popularized yet.
How has the return been so far across schemes?
I think returns have been stupendous. I think if I was looking at the last 10-year returns, equity has given 15% kind of return, GSEC has given 11% return, and corporate bond has given about 10%. This is the best return, and plus minus 1% is the return. If you look at the 1-year category, equity has given up to 37%, and we're happy to know that we are the best fund manager currently in the equity space. The GSEC has given about 11% here, and corporate bonds are given 9. So GSEC and corporate bonds are kind of 9 to 10% kind of returns, and I mean 9 to 11 is where you get that returns, and these returns are obviously because rates have come off and you've got mark-to-market gains. Corporate equity between the 1, 3, 5, 7, anything between 15 to 18% to 37% currently. Obviously, this may not be sustainable, but that's been the range in the last 1 to 10 years.
Where do you think there is a push needed for this particular product in the market?
I think awareness is the biggest one. I think what generally tends to happen is most advisors are not talking about it because one, remuneration is less. Two, I think there's always this inertia that, listen, I need more cash in hand, and I already have PF deductions. I go to, the products that I go to are people, maybe my parents knew about it. The kind of, assured returns like the FDs or the LIC, those are things which have been there and people have talked about it. I think this is one of India's best kept secrets because people don't really talk about it because there's no money in this whole game. But the way I look at it is, this is our India's answer to social security. We have no other product that is available, and this is the only product where, when your cash flow stops at 60, this is the only product that kind of helps build up a kitty so that you have a secondary income, because most people need a secondary income when your primary income stops. And this kind of shows you that, you need to give some self-love to yourself, that, I need to take care of myself as well. I need to take care of my family, but if I'm not able to take care of myself, how can I take care of my family? So that's why NPS is extremely important. That's something we should be part of everybody's asset allocation compulsorily. So you get tax advantage plus a very low cost product. It's regulated by the government of India. It's participation of government sector employees as well as private sector employees. It's a complete win-win for everybody in it. So there's no reason why anybody should not be invested into NPS.
The only thing missing is having the right mindset and discipline when you invest in NPS and make it a very important investment instrument for your retirement goal. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.